Ali Akbar or Abdullah, I'm not sure which one. One of them. Ali Akbar, are you reciting ready? Abdullah ready? Rahil, you want to do surah? Do surah. Any surah. Just surah. No, actually, Fatima, come. You can face this way, so your dad will see you. Are you ready? Huh?
Okay, what do I do?
Which surah you know?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alayhim ghayril maghdubi 'alayhim waladdallin.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Great job, mashallah.
By Muhammad wa al Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma inni as'aluka wa atawajjahu ilayk بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيحة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن الحسين يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها القاذم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، قدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. يا وسي الحسن والخلف الهجة، أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله، اشفع لنا عند الله. حاجات. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا سادتي وموالي، إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله، وتوسلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله، فاشفعوا لي عند الله واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله، فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله، وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله، فكونوا عند الله رجائي يا سادتي يا أولياء الله، صلى الله عليهم أجمعين، ولعن الله أعداء الله الظالمين من الأولين والآخرين، آمين رب العالمين. الله
You want to sit? You want to stand? Sorry. Okay, take it out. حضور محمد وآل محمد. हर मुसीबत पे तुझे याद किया है बाबा, शिमर करता था सितम मुझको डराने के लिए, ओंट डोराता रहा मुझको गिराने के लिए, मैं गई बारे गड़ी आ गई डाडे मेरी, मैं मुझको तस्कीन ना मिली, हो ना आती तो मुझे कौन बचाता आकर, हर मुसीबत पे तुझे याद किया है बाबा, धूप में चल इस पैरों में पर है चाले,
دادی کی طرح میرے دن بھی ہوئے ہیں کالے، ایک رسن بارے گلے میں ہوں چھوٹی سب سے چلنا دو برتا مجھے میں تلک جاتی تھی سب چلتے جو دوران سفر ہر مصیبت پہ تجھے یاد کیا ہے بابا چلتے چلتے مو جاتی اے بات کن شدت پیاس سے جلتا میرا سارا بدن سائے ملتا جو کہیں بر جاتی جو وہیں آتی تشم میرے لئین تازیانے کے اذیت میں بتاؤں کیوں کر اور مصیبت پہ تجھے یاد کیا ہے بابا سر کو اس طرح کوئی دشت میں رکھتا اے بلا سنتی اوشم میرے لئین میں تیرے کا گلا ہاں ای اوزا لے میں نے میرے خسار او پہ اعتماچے میری یونگلی کے نشان ٹکلو ایک بار ڈر اور مصیبت پہ تجھے یاد کیا ہے بابا میرے دادی میں بھی ڈر بار کے منظر دیکھا بسریا ڈوٹ گئی جلتا ہوا ڈر دیکھا میں بنا کے سے گری ہو گئی ہو زخمی میرے پسلی ٹوٹ جل گیا کرتا میرا چن گئی میرا اے گوہر اور مصیبت پہ تجھے یاد کیا ہے بابا آج بھی آنکھوں میں ہے شام غریباں بابا مجھ کو ڈھونڈنا کے لئین میرے بھونڈا چھینا شمر کی ہو سیلی مجھ کو بل جا جو گئی اور بے ہوش ہوئی بلند پا اے گما بابا کبھی ہو منظر اور مصیبت پہ تجھے یاد کیا ہے بابا آپ کو مر گا ایک پانی کا قطرہ نہ ملا آج بھی کیسا میرا سوکا اے گلا بے کیسی اے کیسی تیرے گردن سوکی میں ہوں اب تک پیاسی شمر نے پانی گرا ہائے ہائے شمر نے پانی گرا تا مجھ کو اے دکھلا اے دے کر ہر مصیبت پہ تجھے یاد کیا ہے بابا ایک نو ہے میں نگار ہو سکے تو اے بیان درد میں ڈوب اے جانی کے نو ہے کہ زبان پاپی کی سر کو لیے بنے بچے کے لیے سار کے دے روئے بچی کہتی رہی اور بچی کہتی رہی اور روتا رہا آپ کا سر اور مصیبت پہ تجھے یاد کیا ہے بابا اور مصیبت پہ تجھے یاد کیا ہے بابا اور مصیبت پہ تجھے یاد کیا ہے بابا Inna lillahi wa ilayhi raji'un. And 3 times, please raise your hands and 3 times make your pledge tonight as we are in the months of Safar, inshallah, coming. Please raise your hands and say those Imam Husayn on the plains of Karbala. He said, Halma Nasri Ansurana. We are here by your side, Ya Husayn. Please raise your hands and make your voice reach that land tonight. And 3 times and say, Labbaik Ya Husayn. Labbaik Ya Husayn. Labbaik Ya Husayn. Labbaik Ya Husayn. Adur Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad par.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأطهرين سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of our aza, for the sake of our tears for Imam Husayn alayhi salam, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives our sins. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the sins of our parents. Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Allah, those who are ill, give them shafa'ah. Especially there is a mu'minah from our community who is undergoing emergency operation at this very moment. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bihaqqa Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam gives her shifa'i kamila wa ajila. Oh Allah, those who are in debt, clear their debts. Oh Allah, give us tawfiq to go on the ziyarat of Aba Abdullah this year and every year. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq for Hajj and Umrah this year and every year. Ya Allah, keep safe the Shia of Ali Muhammad around the world. Destroy the enemies of Tashayyu in whichever form they may come. Ya Allah, give victory to the people of Palestine and destroy every oppressor wherever in the world they are. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of Yusuf al-Zahra and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen. For the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you brothers and sisters have brought, please recite another of your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Alhamdulillah, it's good to be back home after a while apart. And I pray that your aza, your remembrance of Abi Abdullah and Husayn is accepted by Az-Zahra alayha salam. Because ultimately, if you want to know the price of the tears that fall from your eyes and the tears that have fallen from your eyes, then the only person that can tell you its true worth is Zahra alayha salam. For she is that lady who will not enter into Jannah until all of those that have cried for Imam al-Husayn, all of those that have done the aza of Imam al-Husayn are allowed to enter into Jannah before her. And so these ayyam, these days of mourning, as I've said many a times before, are not culture, are not tradition, but these are those lahazat, these are those moments where an individual sits in the company of the ma'soom malaika. The gatherings of Imam al-Husayn, the majlis of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, is of such greatness, of such importance, that in Khasa'is al-Husayniyah of Shaykh Ja'far Shushtari, he mentions a narration that says that whenever there is a majlis happening, a group of angels come down and they attend the majlis of Imam al-Husayn. When the majlis and the matam and the azah has completed, these angels return back towards the heavens. When they return to the heavens, there is such a perfume that is emanating from their body that the other angels ask them, "Where is it that you have come from? We have never smelt such a beautiful scent before." And they say that we were upon the earth attending the majlis of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam. Those angels that were not there say to them, "That has the majlis, is it still going on? Can we attend?" They say, "No, the majlis has finished." So those angels that were unable to attend, the narration says, descend to the earth and go to the Husayniyah, or the house where the majlis of Imam al-Husayn was being held, and they rub themselves against the walls of that Husayniyah for barakah. And now imagine you who sit within this majlis, who sit in the remembrance of Abu Abdullah. 20 days have passed since the day of Ashura, and the azah of Sayyid al-Shuhada remains. But now the movement changed and it became the azah and the story of Zainab and Imam al-Sajjad. How it is that they overcame the trials and the difficulties that were to unfold upon them. And we'll talk about some of them in the musibah. But for today's lecture, being as though it is the ayyam of the fourth Imam, I have taken a dua from Sahifa Sajjadiyah. We won't be able to complete it all today. Inshallah, we'll carry it on for Thursday night as well. Where the Imam alayhi salam, dua number 38, where the Imam alayhi salam requests from Allah that Allah pardon him for 7 things. You know that Sahifa Sajjadiyah is something that is applicable, has a dua within it for every issue within our life. But arguably it is one of the most madhloom books that we have from Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. For many of us have read the Nahj al-Balagha, again not from Ahlul Bayt. Sayyid Radi compiled Nahj al-Balagha, but nonetheless the sayings of Amir al-Mu'mineen, and many of us have read that or have read parts of it. But Sahifa Sajjadiyah is that thing that is narrated by the Ma'soom Imam and is written down by a Ma'soom Imam. It is narrated by the 4th Imam and written down by the 5th Imam. This is something that there is no ishkal, there is no question in the authenticity of this book. It is a book that contains du'as for every single issue within the life of an individual. Du'as for those that wish to have children, du'as for those that are parents, du'as for those that are on the frontier, those that are on the battlefront, du'as for those that are ill, du'as for those that wish to increase their rizq, remove their debt. All of it is there within Sahifa Sajjadiyya. And it is unfortunate that Sahifa Sajjadiyya remains madhloom and ghareeb alone in the houses of the Shi'as of Ahlul Bayt, that at times one comes across followers of Ahlul Bayt that have never even read a single dua from Sahifa, or at least the only time they've listened or read something from Sahifa Sajjadiyya is maybe in Shahr Ramadan, if they stayed after the main program to recite Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq. But outside of that, they've never picked up Sahifa Sajjadiyya. They don't even know of the Munajat Khamsa Ashar, the 15 whispered prayers at the end of Sahifa. When Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi sent a copy of this to the Sunni alim Tantawi, he sent him a copy. Tantawi said, "What an amazing book." Says, "I wish I was young. Now I've grown old. If I was young and I had the strength, surely I would have written a tafsir on this book." And then he says one line. He says, "This book is دون الكلام الخالق وفوق كلام المخلوق." He says, the words of this are below the words of God, but certainly they are above the words of the creation. He says, this is something else. The way in which the Imam speaks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way the Imam introduces him. When Alama Majlisi, Buzurg Muhammad Taqi Majlisi, when he met with Imam Zaman, he asked the Imam one question. He said that what is the best thing or the best dua that I can utilize in order to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the best way to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Imam of our time says to him, there is no greater way to reach Allah except through the Sahifa of my grandfather Imam al-Sajjad salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. Allahumma salli ala. So dua number 38 is a very short dua. In that, Imam asks for 7 things: forgiveness, pardon from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 7 things. Like I said, we'll probably only be able to cover 2 of them, and then the rest of them, inshallah, we'll leave for Thursday. What is it that the Imam says? So, Allahumma inni a'tadhiru ilayk, my Lord, I ask for your pardon from the first thing, min madhloom dhulima bihadrati falam ansurhu. I seek your pardon in regards, and what is interesting about all 7 of these, all 7 of them are about society and other people. None of them are about the crimes between me and God, but rather the crimes that I have committed towards other people. Because part of asking for the forgiveness of another is also asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Says, I ask for forgiveness for the person that was wronged, that was the subject of dhulm in my presence, and I did not help. I didn't help them. I saw that there was dhulm happening. I saw that there was oppression happening in front of me. And I could do something about it. I could raise a voice. I could intervene. I could do whatever it was in my power, but I chose to stay quiet. I chose to say it's not my problem. Says Allah, I ask for your forgiveness from that sin. That in front of me a dhulm happened, an oppression happened upon an individual, and I sought not to get involved. There are many dhulm that are happening. Look at the situation in Gaza. There's so much that is happening there. And how we stay quiet. And I don't want to get into this debate of semantics of Gaza and Karbala. Is it the Karbala of today? Karbala is Karbala. There is no doubt about that. Narration after narration, there is no day like the day of Abi Abdullah. But from Karbala, we learn something. From Karbala, we learn how it is that we stand in the face of an oppressor. Karbala teaches us the adab, teaches us the way of being able to stand in the face of an oppressor while losing on the zahir but winning in the batin, and then ultimately reaching victory, while being a winner when on the face of it you're losing everything. Don't get drawn into these debates. Is Karbala, is Gaza Karbala of today? Is it this, that? Those that seek to say, oh no, Karbala is here and Gaza is here, they seek to distract you from the reality. They seek to distract you. There are so many different agents at play that seek to move your attention away from what is happening in this modern day genocide. So many different things are going on in the world. You just look at the situation in the UK right now. All of that is happening there. It's to distract the masses from what is happening in Gaza. The actors that are there are the same actors that are causing those issues in the UK. And so is Gaza Karbala? No, it's not even a debate. Karbala is Karbala. But Karbala teaches us how to deal with Gaza. Karbala teaches us how to raise a voice, how to be victorious while still being oppressed. There are many things. So the Imam is asking, saying, oh Allah, forgive me for those times where dhulm was happening in front of me. I could have raised the voice, but I didn't. I didn't even dare share on social media or raise a concern with my local politician or do anything for fear of my license, for fear of whatever it is. Dhulm is happening everywhere. Gaza, Parachinar. You look at the situation that the Shias of Parachinar in Pakistan are facing. Beheadings and killings. Just for what? For being lovers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And this has been happening for years. Dhulm, although is not just even at that high scale, it can be at a lower scale, at a local level. I see someone is overcharging someone for something and I stay quiet. I see someone is, undercharging. They're not the owner of a business. They're just working there. And they know that the owner isn't around, so they're undercharging. And I just stay quiet. This is dhulm that is occurring. And I know it's wrong. But I'm like, oh, it's not my issue. It's nothing to do with me. Someone is being defamed in front of me. And I stay quiet. Someone's ghiba is being done. A tuhmat is being levied against someone. And I stay quiet in the face of it. This is me in the face of dhulm, staying quiet. Someone comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen and says, Ya Ali, this morning, one of the companions of Imam Ali, says, Ya Ali, this morning a scorpion bit my foot. It stung my foot. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, do you know why that happened? He says, what do you mean do I know? There was a scorpion in my shoe. I put my foot in the shoe and it stung me. Imam Ali says, no. You were in a gathering where the ghibat of Salman was happening and you stayed quiet. This is the punishment for it. Sometimes for the awliya of Allah, for those that are close to Allah, their punishment happens there and then to wake them up, to remind them that this is the reality, what you're doing, you're moving from the path. For others, they can do dhulm upon dhulm upon dhulm, and nothing happens to them. But it is just a matter of time until that dhulm, that adhab comes upon that individual. I stay quiet in the face of dhulm. Not that I am the oppressor, but I see oppression happening and I don't say anything. Oh, it's not my problem. I see someone is causing fitna in a community and I know this person, but I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't want to get involved. This person's got a foul tongue. This person's got a sharp tongue. And then they're just going to turn on me and it's not worth it. They're not worth the hassle. It's not allowed. You must stand in the face of the dhalim. Someone who is there causing instability within the community. It's not that, oh no, Amr bil Ma'ruf, I'll do that later. No, Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahy anil Munkar. There's no excuse for it unless your life is in danger. Isa alayhi salam is with the Hawariyun one day and they're walking and they come across a land where there are hundreds of bodies just lying there dead. The Hawariyun ask Isa alayhi salam, Ya Isa, Ya Ruh Allah, what happened here? Isa alayhi salam says, I don't know, I was with you, I've just come across this place. He said, Ya Isa, you are Ruh Allah, you can raise the dead. Will you not raise them and ask them what happened? So Isa alayhi salam stands and he calls out, he says, Oh people, I am Isa, Ruh Allah. I have been given permission by Allah to raise the dead. Will one of you stand and speak to me? One of the bodies began moving and it stood up. Isa alayhi salam says, tell me, what is it that happened here? Was it an earthquake, a flood? He says, no, Ya Ruh Allah. He says, this was the adhab of Allah that came upon these people. Says, what was their crime? Says they did two things. The first thing is they had excessive hubb ad-dunya, love of the world. They were so attached to the world, it was dearer to them than their own children. They were cared for it. They worked with the world. They were obsessed with it. Says, and the second thing, Ya Isa, is that they stayed quiet under the rule of the oppressive regimes. Whoever came, whatever oppressor ruled over them, they listened to whatever the Taghut said. Whatever the Taghut said to them, whatever he commanded them to do, good or bad, they listened to him. They were fearful of the oppressive king or the president. Says that this is why. Then Isa alayhi salam says, of all of the people that I called, there were hundreds that are lying here. Says, why is it that you are the only one that answered? He says, Ya Ruh Allah, I was not from them. I stayed away from them. So then Isa says, but then why is it that the adhab came for you as well? Says, Ya Ruh Allah, because even though I had distanced myself from them, I was quiet. I didn't try and change them. I didn't stand against them. I stayed quiet while they did all of this wrong. So staying quiet in the face of dhulm, it also brings the adhab. Remember, I told you before of Ad and Thamud. You know in the Holy Quran, when it talks about the she-camel of Salih alayhi salam, and it says that in the Holy Quran, it says, فَعَكَرُوهَا, they came and they killed her. So someone comes to the sixth Imam and says, Yabna Rasulillah, how many people killed the she-camel of Salih? And Imam Sadiq says, only one person killed the she-camel of Salih. Says, but the Quran says, فَعَكَرُوهَا, they killed her. The Imam says, yes, even though it was one person that killed the she-camel of Salih, the rest of the community stayed quiet. They said, we don't want anything to do with it. Nothing to do with us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِذَنْبِهِمْ فَسَوَّاهَا. Lifted the whole earth, turned it upside down and crushed them under it. Because they stayed quiet when wrong was happening in front of them, when dhulm was happening in front of them. They didn't say anything. In Ziyarat Ashura, in all the Ziyarat of the Imam alayhimu salam, we say, لَعْنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً ظَلَمَتْكَ وَلَعْنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً سَمِعَتْ بِذَلِكَ فَرَضِيَتْ بِهِ. It says, la'an upon those that did dhulm upon you, and la'an upon those that heard of what had happened, فَرَضِيَتْ بِهِ. And they were happy with it. It's not that they were joyous and clapping, but they stayed quiet in the face of it. They stayed quiet in the face of it. So staying quiet in the face of oppression is not allowed. This is why Imam Husayn, when on the night of Ashura, he's telling all of his companions that go, all of you leave from here. You go, I've lifted the oath of allegiance from your necks. Go. And if you're afraid to go alone, take a hand of one of the men of my family and take them with you, so that you don't feel bad and you can tell the people that you took one of Ahlul Bayt and you saved them. And then the Imam says, go as fast as you can. He even says the same thing to Zahaq ibn Abdullah al-Mishriqi. Zahaq ibn Abdullah al-Mishriqi is the only person that left Imam al-Husayn on the day of Ashura. Just before the time of Asr, after Dhuhr, after all the companions and even the family of the Imam had been killed and Imam al-Husayn was all alone, Zahaq ibn Abdullah al-Mishriqi, based upon a pact that he had made with the Imam prior to arriving in Karbala, he met the Imam outside of Mecca, and he said to the Imam, I'll join you, but at any point when I see that I will have to die or I'm not going to be able to survive, you will give me permission to leave. And the Imam said yes. And so then Zahaq ibn Abdullah al-Mishriqi, on the day of Ashura, he fought multiple times. In the Maqtal you'll find it. Imam al-Husayn even did dua for him multiple times as he fought. But towards the time of Asr, when everyone had died and there was no one left, he came to the Imam, he says, Yabna Rasulillah, there's no way you can win this battle. And do you remember the pact we had made? Imam says, yes. Says, will you honor it? Imam says, yes, go. Do you have a way of getting away from here? Says, yes, I have a horse tied behind one of these small hills. I can ride away. And by this time, Umar ibn Sa'ad's army, they were tired of fighting. Anyone come or go, they weren't really concerned at this point. So Zahaq ibn Abdullah al-Mishriqi, Imam says to him, Zahaq, then go. But remember one thing, ride from here as fast as you can. For if anyone hears the call of my istighatha, my halmin nasiri yansuruna, and does not reply to me, they will be damned for eternity. And so Zahaq ibn Abdullah al-Mishriqi, he gets on his horse, he rides away from the land of Karbala. Good or bad, Allah will deal with him. We can't judge. He is one of the main narrators of the day of Ashura. He is the one who we get the number of 72 from as well. He is the one that narrates many of the deaths of the shuhada in the maqatil. But the point being that the Imam says to him, ride. If you hear my istighatha, my cry of loneliness, and a person doesn't reply, then they will be damned forever. People that were there with Abu Abdul, the people even in the army of Amr ibn Sa'ad, that weren't able to stay quiet. Women, in fact. There were a couple of women that were with Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, with the ashab that came, but also there were certain individuals in the army of Amr ibn Sa'ad that brought their women as well. For example, Bakr ibn al-Wa'il, he came to Karbala with his wife. After Imam Husayn alayhi salam is killed and the tents begin to be looted, at this point, this woman, the wife of Bakr ibn al-Wa'il, she runs out. She grabs hold of a sword and she runs towards where the tents are, they're being looted. And she stands addressing her tribesmen, the people from her tribe. She says, Ya ala Bakr, ataslabu banatu Rasulillah? La hukma illa lillah, ya latharatay Rasulillah. She says that, O al-Bakr, O the family or the tribe of Bakr, will you stand around while the daughters of the Prophet are being looted? Surely there is no rule, no command but the command of God. Ya latharati Rasulillah. Revenge for the blood of Rasulullah. And she goes to try and attack them. And her husband Bakr ibn al-Wa'il comes, he grabs her, he takes her back to the tents. But she raised a voice in the face of this dhulm that had happened. Another incident of women from the army of Amr ibn Sa'd that raised the voice against this oppression. Ka'ab ibn Kabir is the killer of Burayr Hamadani. After Ka'ab had killed, in Karbala it says his wife and his daughter, or his wife and his sister, were present in Karbala with him. When he kills Burayr, they scold him, because Burayr Hamadani was no small individual. He was known as Sayyidul Qurra. He was known as the chief of the Qaris of Kufa. Burayr wasn't a small individual. When you kill Burayr Hamadani, this is not a small thing. Burayr is the person that leaves when he hears that Imam Husayn has left left Medina towards Mecca. Burayr leaves Kufa and goes to Mecca. Even though letters are already going to Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, but Burayr leaves. They ask him why? Because Burayr understands, you don't just sit back and wait for your Imam, you go towards the Imam. Just like that Sayyidah Zahra, she said to an individual that came to her, says, why doesn't Ali rise? She says, it's not about Ali rising. Mathalu Imam, mathal al-Ka'bah, ta'ti wa la tu'ta. Says, the example of the Imam is like that of the Kaaba. You go to the Kaaba doesn't come to you. Burayr understood this. So when Ka'b ibn Kabir kills Burayr Hamadani and he returns, his wife and his daughter, they scold him. They say, you have aided the enemies of Fatima alayha salam. He says, you have killed Sayyidul Qura. You have committed an abhorrent act. And says that by God, we will never speak to you again. And they don't. They stop speaking to him. Dhulm, raising a voice for the madhloom. Even if I'm not the oppressor, to stand in the face of the dhalim. Imam Ali alayhi salam would stand in the streets of Kufa when he was a Khalifa. And they would say to him, Ya Ali, the heat of the day, you're standing outside in the streets. And he would say that the reason for this is that I'm worried that there may be a madhloom, someone who's being oppressed, that needs someone to protect them or help them. And I, Ali, am unaware of it. And so I stay out in the streets so that people can come towards me if they need my help. Raising a voice in the face of the oppression. This is the first thing that the Imam says. That, oh Allah, I ask for your pardon in regards to min madhloom dhulima bihadarati falam ansura. Says that I ask for your forgiveness in regards to that individual that faced oppression in front of me, and I stayed quiet. It's about the rights of people. The Imam isn't saying I did something, a sin between me and you. No, this is about the collective. It's about society. I've said to you many a times, Islam is a society that is about the collective. It is about the collective. It is not about an individual. Islam is not about living an isolated life. Islam is about the collective, about the jama'ah, about the community. It's about putting aside your own desires, your own personal whims, your own personal agendas for the sake of the collective. That's why there's so much importance in Salat al-Jama'ah. There's so much importance about gathering on the day of Jum'ah. So much importance about visiting the houses of mu'mineen, calling people to your home to eat. It's not about being isolated. It is about having as a collective, as a group, being together as a Jama'ah. And anyone who seeks to disrupt the collective is a person who then should be weeded out. because the collective is what is important. It's not about the individual. The second thing that the Imam says in this dua number 38 of Sahifa Sajjadiyah, he says, and Allah, I ask for your forgiveness. Min ma'roof usdiya ilayya falam ashkur. Says that, oh Allah, I ask you for forgiveness for the favor that was conferred upon me. Someone did something good, did me a favor. Falam ashkuru, but I didn't thank the person. They did a favor for me, but I didn't thank them for it. I didn't thank the one that bestowed ni'mah upon me. I didn't thank the teacher or the doctor or whatever it was that helped me, that did me a favor. Thanking the ibad is like thanking the ma'bud. Thanking the makhluk is like thanking the khaliq. In the battle of Badr, before the battle begins, the Holy Prophet, he gathers his companions and he says to them, listen, there'll be a man that will come into the battlefield by the name of Abul Bakhtari. And if you come across him, don't kill him. Say, Ya Rasulullah, why? There's Abu Jahl, there's all of these people. But why Abul Bakhtari? The Imam says, because he did, the Prophet says, it's because he did me a favor once. This is when? This is in Ta'if. When I would go to Ta'if and the people stoned me one day so badly. I was bleeding and they were chasing me. So I came out of the area and I was sitting in the shade of the wall. He came out and he took me inside his home. He's a mushrik. He took me in his home, he protected me from those people in Ta'if. And after that, he would stop people from calling me names. He would stop them from attacking me. He said, look, whatever he is, he doesn't deserve to be attacked. He doesn't deserve to be called these names. So the Holy Prophet says that if you come across Abul Bakhtari in this battle, he says, don't kill him. Because he did a favor to me. To thank the one that has done a favor upon you. It's so easy to forget those that have done good for us. So easy to forget the person that held open a door, or that listened to my problems, or that said, I don't know, they fed me, or they said something nice to me. These are all favors. It's easy to forget those that did good to me. Years after the death of Khadija, salamullah alayha, the Prophet will be saying, says, Khadija, wa ayna mithlu Khadija? Says Khadija, and where is the example of Khadija? There is none like Khadija. For years and years afterwards, the Prophet would constantly mention her. How many times have I thanked my spouse for what they do? This goes both ways. How many times have I thanked my spouse for all that they do? All of the hard work, all of the difficulties, all of the things that have I thanked them for it? Not that they do it for the thanks, but it is the requirement of the one that is receiving a favor that he should thank. And if he doesn't, then he has committed a wrong. And this is what the Imam is referring to. Hawla is the perfume seller of Medina. Her real name was Zainab, but she was known as Hawla, the Attara. She would come and she would sell perfume. And she would come to the house of the Prophet. And every time she had a new blend, a new perfume, she would come to the house of the Prophet, and the Prophet would buy the most expensive of her perfumes. We have hadith that the Holy Prophet would not spend as much on food as he would on perfume. And that there is no israf when it comes to purchasing perfume or cologne. It can be as expensive as it is. There's extreme importance on smelling good in Islam. There's extreme importance, emphasis on it by Ahlul Bayt, by the Holy Prophet. Once someone walks past Imam al-Jawad and they smell the itar or the perfume he's wearing, and they say to the Imam, wow, that's expensive what you're wearing. Yeah, as if to somehow put the Imam down like, oh, you're showing off. He says, that's a very expensive perfume you're wearing. Ya Ibn Rasulillah. The Imam says, you think this is expensive? Should have smelt the ones my father, Imam al-Radha, would wear. Yeah? So when it comes to perfume, there's no israf in the religion. One should spend as much as they can on smelling good. So Hawla, the perfume seller, she comes and would come to the house of the Prophet. One day, her husband had a need from her and she refused, but in her refusal she shouted at him, she said a few harsh words, and he stopped talking to her. The next day she said, I felt bad and I went to him and I asked him for forgiveness, but he wouldn't speak to me. Says I kissed his hands and I kissed his feet. He still refused to speak. Says I did buka, I cried, I slapped my face, but he wouldn't listen. So she finally gave up and she came to the house of the Prophet. Salama, seeing her come, she thinks that she's brought perfume, but she realizes that she's crying. Says, what happened? She says, this is what's happened between me and my husband. I wanted to ask Rasulullah for advice. I wanted to tell the Holy Prophet. When the Holy Prophet returns to the house, he calls her husband, and it's a very lengthy tradition where the Holy Prophet lists all of the rights of the husband and the wife. Those that are interested can look into it. The hadith of the Holy Prophet to Hawla, or Zainab, the perfume seller, he begins to list all of the rights. One of the rights that he lists, it's a very lengthy tradition, it's maybe an A4 or more size. One of the traditions, or one of the things that the Holy Prophet says, that the right of the husband is over, or the husband and the wife is over each other, is that they must thank each other for what has happened. For anything that they do, says they must thank each other. It's the right of the both spouses. They must thank each other. For years after Amir al-Mu'mineen, he would, when he would talk about Fatima al-Zahra, salamullah alayha, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, he would tell people about the greatness of her, salamullah alayha. He would say that she was the one that her hands would become calloused from moving the stone mill and grinding the flour. Says, and Fatima had bruises on her shoulders from where she would fill water and carry the water back into the home. Says, where is Fatima? Where is the example of Fatima? Whenever someone would ask about her, he would praise her. Even years after she had died and left this world. So the thanks of the one towards the one that has done a favor to me. However small and insignificant that favor seems to me, but if I thank them, thanking is what creates more love. If I am thankful, I'm grateful to someone who does something good for me, then that increases that love. In Du'a Makarim al-Akhlaq, you have that line where we're asking Allah, oh Allah, give me the ability to ifsha al-arif wa satr al-a'iba. Give me the ability to promote the good of people and to hide their ills, their flaws. And this in reality is one of the Sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya man adhara al-jameel wa satara al-kabih. Oh, the one that exalts the good, the beautiful, and hides that which is evil. The believer should be like that as well. Someone has done good to you, you should speak about it. You should make a big thing. This person did good for me. This person helped me. Because it's thanking them for that favor that they did for you. But nowadays it's the total opposite. I try and look for something to bring someone down with. Try and find a fault in someone. Somehow, some way, bring this person down. Now there's people that are wired just in a negative way. It's a disease of the soul. That everything, they just walk into everything looking at the negative. They can't ever look at a positive thing. Because shaitan has overcome their hearts so much that there's no positive left in this world. They'll give you 10 negative things before they can come out with a positive. And this has become such commonplace within this society that we live in this society of social media and tabloids. Someone falls asleep or someone does something silly where everyone's out there with their phones first to try and film it. Someone slips on the ice and they keep slipping. Rather than going to help the person, the first instinct now is to pull out your phone and film them. Person's like, I'm drowning. Great. This is going to get me followers on TikTok. And then, you jump in and try and maybe save them. Or hope that someone else is going to do it. To spread the bad. It's haram. It's haram. Like now, all of this Muharram was intense. Clips are being cut. People are sending stuff around. Oh, this alim said this person said this. Clipping it, no context. And just sending it around with huge messages. It's haram. If someone has done something wrong or you're on purpose clipping it to show them in a bad light, it's not jaiz. And the one that receives it, the worst is arguably it's not the one that created it isn't as bad as the one that receives it and forwards it on to 100 other people. Or sticks it into a group and you never guess what happened. Look at this. We're not about spreading that which is good anymore. Whereas the believer is ifsha' al-arifa. The believer is the one that he exalts the good of people. He tells them, he thanks people for it. So the second thing the Imam is asking, says, Oh Allah, forgive me for those moments that I did not thank the one that did a favor to me. And then there are 5 others. Inshallah, we'll discuss more of them on Thursday. And hopefully in that time, you'll have a chance to go and look at the dua as well, dua number 38 of Sahifa Sajadiyah, so that you can see what it is that the Imam is asking for in regards to the collective and my responsibilities to the community. Because if we understand that, then the community progresses. But if at every point there are those who seek to pull and distract and destroy what is being built, community will never progress until those that seek to do so are weeded out. Supply is everywhere. It is a sieving of sorts. And this great sieving will happen throughout time. All of the world will be sieved before the coming of the Imam to see how true people are on this faith or whether they're just doing it for their own benefit. The first thing the Imam asked for, Oh Allah, forgive me for all of those silences of mine in the face of oppression. These gatherings that we have, these majalis, these tears, these are our protest against the oppression that befell Abu Abdullah and Ahl al-Bayt alayhimus salam. The tears of Sajjad alayhi salam are his protests against all of that dhulm that occurred. For 35 years, Sajjad alayhi salam cried. Safar is the month that Ahlul Bayt reaches Sham. And Sham is that place that the most amount of dhulm befall Ahlul Bayt. From Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham, the daughters of Ali and Batul are being dragged through the streets. The heads of their loved ones are on spears. Their veils snatched, their faces exposed to the sun. The Maqatil, they speak about how it is that the daughters of Ali and Batul were when they entered into the courts of these mala'in. It says their faces were burnt from the sun. Their clothes were dusty from the road and torn in places from all of that journey that they had to go through. And then they reach Sham. For 3 days, the daughters of Ali and Batul are kept outside Sham. What was it that for these 3 days was happening inside of Sham? The narration says is that the streets of Sham were being lined with decorations. People were beginning to prepare festivities. Other narrations say that mirrors were lined along the street so that everyone from whatever angle they were standing at could see the daughters of Ali and Zahra in this state. When they reached the door of Damascus, Kulthum had to go to Shimr. My teacher, Mullah Maqbool Alawi Sahib, would recite this riwayah. He would say that, once Socrates was asked, that Socrates, what is the worst thing for the human being to endure? And he replied that when the person, the respectable individual, must ask from a dhalil, from an individual that is khabith, ask them for a favor. Says the daughters of Ali and Batul, now Kulthum is asking from Shimr, saying, Shimr, will you do us a favor? Says, what is it? Says Shimr, if you are going to take us inside of Sham, then take us through Bab al-Saghir, take us through the small door of Sham, so that the people don't look at us. We are the daughters of Rasulullah. He refuses. She says, then Shimr, if this is what you want to do, then at least do this. Take the heads of these shuhada and take them in front of us, away from us, so that the people look towards the heads and we, the daughters of Rasulullah, can pass by them while they are worried about looking at the heads. Shimr refused this as well. Instead, what he did is he placed the heads of the shuhada next to the women of Ali Muhammad. So whenever they entered into whatever marketplace or street it was, the people would look to the heads and they would look towards the daughters of Rasulullah. When Imam Sajjad was asked by Nu'man ibn Manzar al-Madaini, says, Yabna Rasulillah, why is it that you keep crying, Asham, Asham, Asham? What is it that befell you in Sham? What is it that you went through in Sham? The Imam says to him, Nu'man, there were a number of things that befell us in Sham. The first thing is, Nu'man, they placed the heads of the shuhada on spears and they would outside of Sham play with the heads of the shuhada, sometimes hitting the heads together. At times the heads would fall to the ground and the hooves and would be crushed under the hooves of the camels. Nu'man, the second reason is that Sham is that place that they paraded us through the streets and the women of Sham climbed upon their homes and they would pour boiling water on the daughters of Rasulullah. They would set fire to wood and throw it upon the daughters of Rasulullah. Says Nu'man, at one point a piece of burning wood landed on my imama. My hands were tied in chains. I could not reach it to remove it. Nu'man, the third reason is that they appointed an announcer for us that would announce at every street, these are those individuals that have no respect in Islam. Come and take your revenge from them. The fourth reason, Nu'man, is that they took us to the place where the Jews and the Christians would live. And there the announcer announced, it is their elders that came and killed your elders in Khandak and Khaybar. Come take your revenge from them. The Imam says, Nu'man, not a single Jew or Christian remained in the home except that they had a stick or a stone in their hands and they began to pelt the daughters of Rasulullah. Nu'man, the fifth reason is they took us to the marketplace of slaves where they tried to sell the daughters of Rasulullah as slaves. Were it not for divine intervention that we were saved from that place. The final reason the Imam says Nu'man, the last reason I say Asham is that they kept us in that prison, a prison that had no roof to it. Our children would suffer under the heat of the sun and they would have no protection from the cold of the night. And that prison is the very prison that Sajjad had to lay his sister Sakina to rest in. That night when the head of Abu Abdullah was brought to this child and she ran forward, she saw her father in a dream. She began to cry for Imam Husayn over and over. Yazid says, take her, the head of her father. They placed it in a tray. They covered it with a cloth. She was young when they brought it inside the prison. They said to her, Sakina, come and take this. She looked towards her auntie Zainab, said, oh auntie, I don't want to eat. I want my father, Abu Abdullah. At that moment they pulled the cloth away and there she sees the severed head of her father. She ran towards it. She recited her marthiyah. وَضَعَ فَمَهَا عَلَى فَمِهِ الشَّرِيفِ. She placed her lips on the lips of her father. وَضَعَ فَمَهَا عَلَى فَمِهِ الشَّرِيفِ ثُمَّ مَاتَتْ. As soon as she placed her lips on the lips of her father, the girl's soul left her body and she died. Sajjad came, he saw his sister, her lifeless body lying there. He called out to Zainab alayha salam, oh Auntie Zainab, they've killed my sister Sakina. They came forward, they called a lady to give ghusl to this daughter of Abu Abdullah. She came, the body was taken, she began to give ghusl. A short while later she came into the prison. She turned to the women, she said, who is the elder amongst you? Zainab al-Kubra came forward. She says, I am. She says, tell me, was this girl ill in some way? Did she suffer from an illness? She says, no. Why do you ask? She says, there is no part of her body that is free from a wound or a bruise. Why is it that this girl is covered in bruises? Zainab begins to cry. She says, this is how Shamar deals with the orphans. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ماتم حسين.
सरे अब्बास आता है کہا زینب نے یہ رو کر سنبھالو بیویو چادر سر عباس آتا ہے. کہا زینب نے یہ رو کر سنبھالو بیویو چادر سر عباس آتا ہے. کہا زینب نے یہ رو کر سنبھالو بیویو چادر سر عباس. بلا لائے سکینہ کو بلا لائے سکینہ کو کوئی زندان سے جا کر سر عباس آتا ہے. کہا زینب نے یہ رو کر بیو چادر سر عباس یہ غیرت کا خدا ہے اس کی غیرت کا تقاضا تھا. کھلا سر دیکھ کے نیزے سے جو یہ سر گراتا تھا. نہیں ہے پاس گر چادر تو رکھ لو ہاتھ ہی سر پر سر عباس آتا ہے. کہا زینب نے یہ رو کر سنبھالو بیویو چادر سر عباس. بھرا ہوگا لہو آنکھوں میں اس کی خود ہٹاؤں گی میں بچپن کی طرح سے بھائی کا چہرہ دھلاؤں گی. اگر ممکن ہے تو دے دے کوئی پانی مجھے لا کر سر عباس آتا ہے. کہا زینب نے یہ رو کر سنبھالو بیویو چادر سر. مجھے اٹھنا پڑے گا بیویو تعظیم کو اس کی میں ماں ام البنی کی سمت سے غازی کو چوموں گی. سنبھالے سر کوئی آنو محمد کے یہاں آ کر سر عباس آتا ہے. کہا زینب نے یہ رو کر سنبھالو بیویو چادر سر. اسی احساس سے اس نے نظر اپنی جھکائی ہے. اسے معلوم ہے یہ کتنا غیرت مند بھائی ہے. چھپائے کس طرح زینب پڑے ہیں نیل شانوں پر سر عباس آتا ہے. کہا زینب نے یہ رو کر سنبھالو بیویو چادر سر. ملا پانی اسے پوچھا تو کیا بتلائے گی زینب. بھلا اس کی بھتیجی کو کہاں سے لائے گی زینب. نگاہیں اس کی ڈھونڈیں گی سکینہ کو یہاں آ کر سر عباس آتا ہے. کہا زینب نے یہ رو کر سنبھالو بیویو چادر سر عباس. تھے سب کی جھولیوں میں اپنے اپنے لاڈلوں کے سر. رقیہ ام لیلا ام فروا مادر اصغر اٹھی کہتے ہوئے ہر ماں سر اپنے لال کا رکھ کر سر عباس آتا ہے. کہا زینب نے یہ رو کر سنبھالو بیویو چادر سر تکلم شامیوں کی عورتیں بھی
روتی جاتی ہیں علی کی بیٹیاں جلدی سے زخموں کو چھپاتی ہیں کھڑی ہے ہاتھ پھیلائے ہوئے خود زینب مضطر سر عباس آتا ہے کہا زینب نے یہ رو کر سنبھالو بیبیو چادر سر عباس آتا ہے یا حسین یا حسین شام کا بازار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار پاؤں میں بیڑی تو کے گرا بار شام کا بازار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار بھولے گا نہ وہ منظر نیزے پہ سر سرور بھولے گا نہ وہ منظر نیزے پہ سر سرور بے مکنا بے چادر بلوے میں پھپھی مادر اور مجمع کفار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار شام کا بازار شام کا بازار بازار کی زیبائی کھوٹوں پہ تماشائی بازار کی زیبائی کھوٹوں پہ تماشائی آدھا کی سفر آئی اور عالم تنہائی وہ بے کس و لاچار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار حاکم نے یہ سن پایا تو اور ستم ڈھایا حاکم نے یہ سن پایا تو اور ستم ڈھایا سرپوش کو سرکایا اور بچے کو دکھلایا چلائی وہ ایک بار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار شام کا بازار کچھ شمر سے فرما دو گردن میری کھلوا دو کچھ شمر سے فرما دو گردن میری کھلوا دو سر بابا کا دلوا دو یا اس کو یہ سمجھا دو مارے نہ ستمگار عابد بیمار شام کا بازار شام کا بازار عابد بیمار یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین محمد وآل محمد صلوات
جزاک اللہ رحم اللہ من قرأ سورة المبارکۃ الفاتحہ قبل صلوات اللہم صل محمد وآل محمد بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم الحمد للہ رب العالمین الرحمن الرحیم مالک یوم الدین ایاک نعبد و ایاک نستعین اہدنا الصراط المستقیم صراط الذین انعمت علیہم غیر المغضوب علیہم ولا الضالین اللہم صل علی محمد وآل محمد متوجہ زیارت السلام علیکہ یا رسول اللہ السلام علیکہ نبی اللہ السلام علیکہ یا محمد ابن عبداللہ السلام علیکہ امیر المومنین السلام علیکہ یا سید الوسین السلام علیکہ فاطمۃ الزہراء سیدۃ نساء العالمین السلام علیکہ حسن مجتبی ابن امیر المؤمنین السلام علی الحسین وعلی علی بن الحسین وعلی اولاد الحسین وعلی اصحاب الحسین جميع رحمت اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکہ یا غریب الغرباء السلام علیکہ یا معین الضعفاء والفقراء السلام علیکہ شمس الشموس انیس النفوس ایہا المدفون بارض توس السلام علیکہ سلطان العرب والعجم یا ابو الحسن یا علی ابن موسیٰ الرازی بالقدر والقضاء ورحمت اللہ وبرکاتہ السلام علیکہ صاحب العصر والزمان علامان 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 السلام علیکہ خلیفۃ الرحمن السلام علیکہ شریک القرآن السلام علیکہ یا امام الانس والجان هذا جل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وزهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Just a reminder, brothers and sisters, there will be